I'm sure everyone dreams of being in the ideal workplace where you fit in a perfectly amazing workplace and you and your employer are totally in sync in terms of how you see the future and how you want to get there, where you are intellectually stimulated, where you feel you are making a difference and a positive contribution in the workplace and you are valued. You are excited when you go there every morning. However, things are not always like this in the workplace. So sometimes it's easy to find that this ideal employer is not what you thought, and so on. So you may start feeling constantly disillusioned, demotivated, dissatisfied. And if coming to work feels like a chore every day, it's possible that there is a fundamental disconnect between you and the workplace or the employment place in terms of values and goals. Today, we are going to discuss just that. Let's see who is the guest I have for you today. And hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Quantum Leadership Hacks. I'm Dr. Nebila Diab, your host, and today we have an exciting episode lined up where we are discussing three things to live our values in the workplace with our esteemed guest, Alicia Espinosa. Alicia, let me bring you on stage, Alicia, while I present you. Alicia is my friend. Alicia is based in Sweden. Alicia is a PGI consultant, certified Proctor Gallagher consultant with the Proctor Gallagher Institute. And Alicia has been in the corporate for more than 20 years. And then she decided to have her own business, her own venture, her own if you like, side hustle, or not side hustle, but business. And then, I've always known Alicia as the lady who talks about values. She has also some kind of certification, I suppose, on values and how to live a life according to our values. And Alicia is also TEDx speaker. She's recently spoken at the Reigate TEDx chapter, where she just shared with me already 17,000 have watched her TEDx. It must be really, really amazing, Alicia. And where she talks about authenticity, I guess, in the workplace. Correct me if it's not. Welcome, Alicia, to my show, the Quantum Leadership Hacks. To you, Alicia.
Thank you, Nebila. It's so nice to be here. Thank you very much. And the TEDx was about living authentic or having authenticity as a disruption of, that living according to, today we have social media and we are all the time comparing ourselves to others. It's a disruption to live a fulfilled life. Yeah, so it's a foundation for having a good work relationship also and in life. Yeah.
Absolutely. I can easily see this, how this aligns with careers, with being authentic and living authentically in the workplace as
Yes.
well. Because at the end of the day, we spend a third, I mean, the people who are in the 9 to 5, they spend a third
Yeah.
of their life literally in the workplace.
Yeah.
So let's dive right in, Alicia, right into, and our topic today, it's three things we can do to live at our core value in the workplace.
Yeah,
So let's dive right in. First of all, can you explain why it is important to identify and
yeah,
live by core values in the corporate world?
yeah. And I would like to move a little bit back first
Mhm.
and talk about values, because people say, I met a client once and she say, oh, but I'm so tired that I can live my values. And I said, okay, what are your values? And she's like, hmm, I don't know. So she didn't know. She talked about values, but she didn't knew what it was. So
Mm.
values are personal motivators that it 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 will what I say is um, describe how we live and how we feel, and what we need, we value. So we always are thinking what are my needs at the moment, and values can change over the time, and some core values, the core values can come from family. We learn from our family, and it's why we need to, even if we have values that we have from our family and before and so, to to not only to assume that this is my value, because we are so affected from the environment that sometimes we think that we value something, but it's not the truth. And it's
Mm.
why we need to go deeper and say, and you ask why we should do that. Yeah, because that, and differentiate values that with beliefs, because beliefs are based on something that has happened before, that we assume to be true. But
Right, right. So,
values is really who I am, and what I value, what I need. Yeah, so that we need to start to think about what is value.
yeah. Is it fair to say that values or serve as the foundation for our actions and
Yes,
decisions? Because
yeah,
according to a study by the Barrett Value Center, companies that align their value with their actions experience greater employee satisfaction and retention, whereas
yeah,
other companies where there is a disconnect between what they claim in their mission and vision and principles
yeah,
and what they actually do in real life, when there is a disconnect,
yeah,
there is a low retention rate and there is less client satisfaction. What do you think? Is that
yeah, yeah. It is, because so it is, when you see a announcement that this job is this and our core values are this and this, but then when you go to that company or the organization, they suddenly have other values and they are not
Mm,
living in alignment with their values. And what happens as a person is like, okay, I apply for this job because it's calling me for my values, but when I come there, they are not living according to the value. They are not leading according to the value. So
right.
it's very important for organizations. So we can talk more about organizations also, because the culture of the organization will eat the strategy of the organization, and the culture comes from living in alignment with the values also. Yeah,
You know, Alicia, I'm putting myself in the shoes of, our beautiful audience who are, and there's VM in here. She's saying, good evening. I'm very excited. Good to have you here, VM. Thank you so much for joining. So let us be very, so to speak, practical and very
yeah,
kind of lead by example, what if we can give like two examples? Let's first name some values. Let's say we
Yeah.
name five values, and then we give an example of what happens if I go to a workplace and they have the value and they live by it, and what happens if they claim they have a value and then I find something else. What's going to happen in this? So first of all, the five values. Let's talk about five examples. Some can
So
have.
we can say in organizations, they probably say our employees are the most important people for
Mm,
us,
mm,
but they don't care about the employees.
right.
They maybe there. I work with some organizations that they have like, yeah, our employees are the most important thing, but
Mm,
when they are sick or something, or they are calling like, when are you coming?
yeah.
Or are you going to be a long time sick?
Sick.
Or they replaced all the time, and it's not.
Yeah.
The other one other is like, I love the working with safety in the
Mm,
organization. You know,
mm,
to the safety for the organization, that every employees go home safely. And sometimes they say safety is the most important things for us in organization. As soon as if something happen, it's like, oh, but the machine need to run. The productivity will drop.
mm.
You know, then safety is not so important,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if they say that safety is the value, then they say, okay, let the machine stop the machine. We check that it's safe for the employee to work in the machine, and
Yeah.
then,
Do
or
the necessary checks. Yes.
yeah, or for example, people working in office, like, we care about our employees, but they cut the resources.
Space.
Yeah. So people are like having a lot of things to do. And I don't know how in the world, but I know that here in Sweden it came a new rule or law that the organizations need to work with the psychological safety also, not only the machine safety, but also for people to not feel stressed at work. And so it's a disconnection from the value that they say is important, or employees are important. But as soon as the problem with the productivity, they don't care about the
Mm.
employee. About yeah.
So, in a word, so these are two examples. Like the employees come first. It could be a motto or a slogan that they repeat, but
Yeah.
actually, this is on the part of the organization, like
Yeah.
safety first or employees first. How about the individual herself?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
supposedly, give us some examples of values that because you mentioned the lady who said, I don't know what are my values. So
Yeah.
let's give some examples of values that we live by. For example, family's
Oh,
value, or
you can have a family value, but this with the values is also it depends on the person, because we have different beliefs about what values. That, for example, it's easy to give an example. I had a client in USA, and his values is family, and
mm,
the wife values is family.
mm,
So they have the same values, but for him, caring about family is like working all day to give them everything that he hasn't.
mm,
The wife wants the man be at home, look, watching TV and being with them, socializing. So they are fighting about one value because she say, but you say that your values is family. And he say, yeah, my values is family, but the beliefs on what it is different. So
Right,
is
right.
that. So
Yeah.
so we need to check that. The other thing, for example, if you have a person that say, my health is very important to me, it's one of my values, and then I ask, okay, tell me, what are you doing for your health? And then, like, oh, do you work out? Oh my gosh, I only walk like 5,000 steps per day. Is eating bad? So the person wants to have health as a value, but is not aligned with that.
Mm,
So you
right.
may have a values, but if you are not acting according to your values, it's just a wish.
Right, 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 right.
And,
So
and one
how?
thing that,
Go
yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
one thing that I wanted to say that also is that sometimes values can conflict to each other, because you may have a value or a need to be liked from people. You want to be part of a community or a tribe, and then you are also creativity is your values. But what happens is that because you are afraid that people will not like you don't use your creativity in the
Mm,
right way, and
right,
then
right.
you are not feeling good. Yeah,
And still we are talking about one value, so the example is so striking, the example of the family and the couple. I mean,
yeah,
they both have the family value, but
yes,
even that one value, one feels that value is that family is so important that he is willing to sacrifice his entire
yeah,
time to give it for the family. And the
yeah,
other's interpretation of family is that if you value family, then you should be spending more time with the family.
yeah,
So this is about one core value, let alone if we go into all of the variations and nuances and of the core values for us as human beings, overall. So how can we identify the values, Alicia, since we
So,
started with this?
Nebila, I want to go to the first question you asked me.
Yeah,
Why
please.
is important?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it's just this. When you know your values, you are authentic to yourself, true to yourself. When you know your values, then you don't need to compare yourself to others. You
Mm,
don't need to, you can make your decisions based on your values and not from fear or
right.
beliefs from the before or paradigms.
Mm,
You can uh, set boundaries. So it's why it's so important, because when you go to uh, the workplace, you get people that have the same values, different beliefs. But if you know that what are your values and what is important to you, you don't need to fight with somebody or defend your values. It's
mm,
like you are you. You don't need to be somebody else. It's
right.
not like, and it's also, and you need to, it will help you understand that we all have different glasses for how we see the world. And then you it's better to have an open mind to learn and teach from others and still being true to ourselves.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
This is so good. Yeah.
yeah. And then
So
we go to,
it looks
yeah,
like it's very, very important, like as a start point, that we, because we cannot if we operate from where we are definitely going to go in the direction of operating from the by default from the
Yeah.
subconscious beliefs that have been
Yeah.
programmed,
Yes. Yes.
and then we will repeat the same story, the same results, the same results. But if
Yeah.
we want to change, if we want to live a life of up to our values, so I think step one, it's one of the three things that we have to do, which is to identify our core values.
Identify core values. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me a
Eh,
little bit more about how do we identify our core values.
Yeah.
Give us
So
some techniques, some tips.
so so normally the best way is to do an assessment. You can do that. But if you don't do that, and you can also go and check my TEDx, because I give one way to see finding out the values. But one of the things that you need to reflect, take time to reflect and ask yourself, for example, when have been more fulfilled in my life? And then you write that. So I have
Mm,
been fulfilling this and this and this. And then ask yourself, what was, why I was fulfilled there? Because then I was surrounded with family, or maybe I used my creativity in the best way, or maybe I was very structured doing this, so you start to finding different ways that you feel fulfilled. Now you also start to um, check the times where you don't were fulfilled, or when you have a fight with somebody, and then ask yourself, okay, what happened there? What was that get me angry? Because if you get angry, it's because your values is not respected for somebody else. So if you are angry, oh, what get me angry here? And then you can start, oh, it was because somebody didn't respect this or this or this. And then you start to find your values.
mm,
What
I
get
love
your
this.
passion?
Yeah.
So it's also, and what I have in the TEDx is like doing an exercise in the morning, like, calm your brain by doing yawning, like mindfulness yawning, and then ask yourself, what are my innermost value? And
Mm,
sit still and just listen to the intuition. And you're doing this in the morning, in the evening before you go to sleep. Many weeks, you started to discover. Yeah,
wow.
or an assessment. The
Or
assessment
an
is very good.
assessment. So to
Yeah,
find your values, you can do an assessment, a proper assessment.
yeah,
There are
yeah,
available assessment tools
yeah.
online. That's number one. Number two, you can use reflection.
Reflection. Yeah,
Reflection. You can
yeah,
use the reflective process by
yeah,
considering the moment in their lives where they've been
yeah,
particularly fulfilled, proud, angry, da da
yeah.
da, and then reflect on these experiences because they can help you
Yeah.
uncover the
Uncover.
underlying values.
Yes, yes,
um One of the things I also use is I have a checklist. I have a whole list of values, like
yeah,
a lot of them, and then
yeah.
what I do is I give it to my clients when we do
Okay.
the session on values, and a list
Yeah.
of common values, and
Yes,
we I ask them
you
to
can do
reflect
that.
and
Yeah,
pick seven out of
yeah,
them and select those that resonate most with them. The process involves, like, for sure, whichever one we
yeah,
use, it involves like a certain level of self-awareness and honesty
yeah, yeah.
in there. Amazing. How can, Alicia, you've been in the corporate, now let's suppose a female professional or a career woman, and she's very ambitious and so on, and she has certain values, she has certain boundaries that she wants to respect, that, like, she doesn't work weekends, she doesn't pick up calls in the evening. I have a
Yeah.
client who said her client has put her in the freezer, so to speak, for the past maybe 7 years, where she didn't get a raise at all. Why every time she goes to the evaluation she says, oh, I remember you, you are the one who doesn't pick up the phone in the evening. It's like he earmarked her as the person who doesn't pick up the phone in the evening. And while this could be like something very normal, because some people don't simply, it's family time, they don't pick up, it looks like he's taken it as you know anyway. So how can women effectively communicate their values with
Yeah,
their teams, with their organizations, without
yeah,
facing the resistance and the
no,
misunderstanding that usually goes with this?
yeah. I believe the first is still know exactly what she values, what everyone, yeah. And then when we need to communicate, and it's when you are very sure about your values, you don't need to defend them
Mm,
because we set boundaries. And then if you know your values, you can communicate in a way with people. I tell you, this is very important to me. This and this and this is very important to me, because I believe that we educate our environment how they treat us.
mm.
If
I
you
like
don't
this.
set,
We
yeah,
educate
we
our
educate.
environment about
Yes,
how they should treat us.
yeah. And if you don't set boundary right away, they they will like, oh,
Take you for
but I
granted.
can, yeah, I can treat Nebila like this, and
Ask
then
anything.
and they do once, and they will do two, they did three, and then and
Yeah.
suddenly you are a yes sayer all the time, you know. So you need to know your values and set boundary, but you don't need to say, yeah, but my values is this. No,
Yeah.
because we need to be very, very careful to 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 have our value as a rule, you know.
Mm.
Because if we make our values as a rule, it's like, oh, okay, it's only integrity. If it's not that, I will not. I mean,
Mm.
it 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 will fluctuate how it will
Right.
be. Or I should have creativity all the time. Oh,
Mm.
but maybe you are not allowed. Maybe you are allowed to have creativity only 30-40%. And then you ask yourself, okay, it's okay to be in that work if creativity is important to me, and I only can um, use 40%. Should I stay there, or maybe I should change my job? But to communicate our values is like having an open communication with your
Mm.
colleagues and your employees or teammates, because you don't need to be afraid that they say, ah, but this is wrong. No, it's wrong for you, but it's wrong, it's not wrong for me. And
Sure.
feel proud about that. So the open communication is very important to do that, and setting boundaries.
I love this. I've been up to recently working with this client, and then she says, in my job, a very high, position, and then she says, it's like I feel like my male colleagues, it's a male dominated word, they respect me, but they don't kind of take my perspective or my opinion or my position seriously. So one day she communicated to her male colleagues who are at the same level as her. It's not like her boss
Yeah.
or, and she communicated with them and she told them, hey, I need these questions answered because it's very important for my report and so on. And one of them passed by her office and he said, oh, I don't have the time for this, I will do it then. Because we've been working on this for a while, she stood in there and she looked at him straight in the eyes and she said, but it is important for me. She
Yeah.
said, I will never forget the way he looked at me. he got scared. He said, okay, 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 definitely. It was a turning point. It was a turning point where
Yeah,
all before she wasn't setting boundaries, or it was okay to ruffle,
yeah,
her desire. But when she stood up there and she said, it is important for me, then he felt so embarrassed because he understood that he was actually stepping on her toes, and
yeah,
he
yeah,
understood the gravity of the
yeah,
situation.
yeah.
So,
And it's why it's very important. And I one thing that we, we we should be very, very careful is that we have a perception, or I perceive that they don't respect me.
mm,
But is that true? Is only your perception, or is that you know that they do that? It's totally different, because if a perception, I can say, okay, I have a perception that Nebila doesn't like me
mm,
because maybe you are looking like this. Yeah,
mm, mm.
it's my perception. But what I notice is that you are far away with your thought, and maybe watching something away, you know? So when we perceive with where we perceive with our beliefs, and so then we need to see, okay, what is my need here? What do I need? And communicate what we need. So it was very good that she communicated. But especially women are very expert in noticing the needs that they have, but not communicate that. But
Mm.
if you know your values, if you know your values, your needs, you can communicate that and say, okay, I expect this help to this because it's important for the project. And then
I
there are,
love this.
yeah,
Mm,
so it's very, very important not to perceive. It's like to be sure. I go and ask people like, okay, just I don't perceive in my own way. Is that this that you mean? Oh no,
So
oh
you take
sorry.
the, yeah, you double check. You double
Yeah, I
check.
double check, because sometimes my mind is so have so much fantasy that I create something that is not
Bubble.
that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and then I don't say what I need, and then I go home and ruminate about,
Mm,
oh, bro, cut that,
mm.
because it's
And
not
just get to
helping.
the root cause of this. I love,
Yeah,
love, love this. Perception is a mental faculty. You remember Bob's
yeah,
book, and the
yes,
way to
yes,
get it from different
yeah,
sides. The Think and Grow Rich book, Bob's book.
yeah,
And when
yeah.
you look at it from different side, it could be something different.
It
I
comes,
so,
yeah,
so, so much love this discussion, Alicia, with you on values.
uh,
I mean, time flies by. It's already
yeah,
35 past.
yes,
Alicia, what are, and I promised my audience that we will give them three things so they start living with more alignment with their core values, because we have a lot of misconceptions about going to work. A lot of people have this belief, oh, that's your job, you're not supposed to have fun in, at work. The job is not supposed to be passionate all the time. It's not supposed to, it's like you have to do it, if it pays the bills, if it gives the paycheck, then
yeah,
that's it, that's the only thing. But what are three things that women can start and men can start
yeah,
doing to live in alignment with their core values? And I'm talking particularly to ladies who, you know, like earlier on today, I was with this lady. She said, when I first started working for this company years ago, I was so passionate, so excited. I would jump out of bed and I would go to work and I would lead and I would stay late and I would take work home and I would jump in at odd hours on, meetings in for international calls and everything. But she says now it's like, mm, it's not exciting anymore.
No.
It's not motivating me anymore.
Yeah.
And then they stick in there. They stick in there because they say, I don't know how to do anything any better. Maybe I don't find a better job. Maybe da da da. And she said,
Yeah.
just inside something is dying. It's like, I'm just living, surviving.
Yeah.
So what are three things? So
So,
given
so the
this, what
three,
are,
yeah. So the three thing is go and deep, found your values, because when you find your values, you will find your purpose. I was a career, uh, I was running after, oh, next promotion. And then I felt empty when I got this promotion. And what I found there is that I haven't found what is my purpose in life. How can I use my values the best way? Because when you know your values, you will know your purpose. And also know that happiness is not outside you. It's not when you get a promotion. It's not when you get a better salary, or when you get that house or the car. It's inside you.
Hmm.
So when you think that your happiness outside you, you will always have your happiness in other people's and things' hands, and not. So you lose your power. And then you need to figure out if your values are conflicting to each other. Because if they conflict to each other, you will procrastinate a lot.
Hmm.
So you will, because you are afraid to that do this. But then, like I explained it before, if you value to be part of a tribe and be like it, and you have creativity, they can conflict, not always, but can conflict to each other,
Hmm.
because the fear of not being like it or be part of tribe will do that you don't use your creativity, but then you are dying inside. And
Right, right.
also, we have values that are potentially limiting us, like be like it, have control. Oh, it's so limiting us. So you need to 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 find out if your values are limiting you, and then taking action based of your values. Set goals based on your values, not based on what you think you should accomplish. you
I
know
love this. This is such a good
yeah,
three-tip process that can save a lot when used and applied and implemented on a daily basis.
yeah,
This can lead really to clarifying our mind and
yeah,
aligning you with you. When you close
yeah,
that gap between you and you are living according, that's where happiness is. It's
yeah.
not in the next shinier thing or the yeah, yeah. I so much love this. Alicia, it's been, and I know I'm, picking you from your beautiful family where you are visiting in the UK, and you've generously given your time and your expert. Alicia, it's been an enlightening. It's been so enlightening
Thank
to
you.
hear your insights on living our values in the workplace. Your advice is absolutely invaluable, and those three tips are really gold, especially for women striving to align their careers with their personal beliefs. What are your final words, my friend?
My final word is that you are like a flower. When the flower is in there, with the roots and everything, you are blooming all the time. Yeah.
Mm,
But when you cut from the root, the flower will die.
mm,
Exactly the same is you. You are flower. If you don't live in alignment with your values, you will be okay some days, some time, but because you are living artificially, you know how the flower is in the
Mm.
water living artificially, is the same as us. But if it takes too much time where you're not aligned with your values, you will die inside you.
Wow, powerful, powerful, powerful. That's the extent of values in our life. Well, thank you so much, Alicia. It's been a pleasure having you. To our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on the Quantum Leadership Hacks. Remember, living by your values is not only possible, but essential for a fulfilling
Yeah.
career. Stay tuned. Thank you for joining and stay tuned for more episodes. Can you believe it? It's episode 101 today.
Wow.
Last week, we celebrated the 100th episode of the Quantum Leadership Hacks. Thank you so much. So stay tuned, everyone, for more episodes where we delve into the complexities of career and leadership development. And until that time, keep living your values and leading with purpose. Bye,
Yes.
everyone.
Bye.